What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. I am Lieutenant Nathaniel Flint of the Landship Scorpios, and today we're diving right back into Rivet Wars Reloaded PDF. Super excited. Today we're going to be absolutely ripping through this Nemoan Expansion rulebook and maybe dipping into the Nemoan stat cards real quick to pick up what we see here and implement it over there. So I'm super excited. So let's go ahead and jump in real quick and get right into this to try to make this as short as possible. If I'm also a little rigid, I'm trying to keep this also shortable so I can chop these up and put them on YouTube Shorts. So the first things that the Nemoan expansion adds to the rules of Rivet Wars Reloaded is the concept of mega plugs. Mega plugs are a new plug type that are different from normal plugs. They're bigger and very specific units have space for them to be slotted into. You need to make note that a mega plug has a different thing, as well as certain units have different mega plug sockets that are just thicker and beefier plug symbols, which are very nice and easy to spot. Even though this is a new rule type, the only unit this is in effect of is the Nautiloid and the Nautiloid Factory and the Nautiloid Battery, which are mega plugs. But we'll still go through it. There's rules associated with them. Mega plugs are not deployed on the battlefield like regular units or plugs are deployed. When a unit with a mega plug socket is deployed, it must be deployed with that mega plug attached to it already. So you are paying the cost for both units to deploy at the same time. So for the Nautiloid and for the Nautiloid Factory and the Nautiloid Battery, they don't cost anything. It is a special ability for the Nautilus Tank to, well, actually, I think it's on the Nautiloid, but it is a special ability to basically spawn this on the battlefield next to it. So we won't have to worry about that too much, but if in the future they release mega pluggable units with mega plugs available, there could be a cost associated with them, and you would need to pay all that together to deploy these out on their own. So you'll never have a empty Nautiloid transport. You will always have basically a Nautiloid Factory deployed in it or a Nautiloid Battery deployed. If a player is unable to deploy the mega plug onto a unit with a mega plug socket, they're unable to deploy that unit with a mega plug socket. So they are meant to be together, never kind of empty and alone. The unit the mega plug is attached to gains all the special rules and attacks listed on the mega plug's stat card. From then on, the mega plug is considered part of the attached unit. This is the same as plugs, but the redundancy is good. Another special rule that is used a lot by the Nemoans is straight movement and straight range. They talk a lot about things being in a straight line with a lot of their specials. So they're just pointing out that straight movement, when it mentions that, is not using any diagonal movement. So here it uses the Cyclopes Burrower. The Cyclopes Burrower has, let's show this real quick. The Cyclopes Burrower has two instances in which straight movement is used. So it has a piercing attack, where it's got a range of 2, which needs to be in a straight line. But it also has momentum, where it gains extra movement if it moves directly in a straight line, giving it 3 movement. So this is very important and helpful to get it. So both of these instances are only used, or those benefits of the attack are only used when it's done in a straight line. It does not bar it from moving or attacking with that one diagonal, but if it does, it doesn't get the benefits of those specials that uses straight lines. So that's simple, easy, just to keep in mind, there are very like direction-based units. So this is based on per area. So these are 2 tiles with areas 3x3. And he's just in one of them and can move this way, this way, this way. Some Nemoans have add specific attack specials to their attack profile. These are accurate, which the unit ignores bolster defense as a special rule, as well as piercing, where when this unit attacks in only a straight line, it may target 1 unit in each of the area counted between it and its target. So again, they use this Burrower, where when it's attacking this one here, because it has a range of 2, it can attack this here and here as well. So it attacks this unit, but also attacks this unit because it's in a straight line. Meanwhile, it can reach and attack this unit with 1-2 with 1 diagonal, or 1-2, I suppose. However, it's not going to get the benefits of its piercing attack, so it's not going to hit this guy because it wasn't done in a straight line. Here's a list of all the Nemoan special rules, but we will be skipping that for now. A bunch of solo rules, which we will be skipping for now. And a Nemoan campaign with 3 scenarios special for the Nemoan faction that highlight them and flip-flops between playing against the Blight and the Allied. And that was the quick and dirty look through their rulebooks real quick. So now I want to do a crash course through the Nemoan units. We'll probably do another one later that I really want to get nitty gritty with them, but I do want to do like a crash course through them and talk about their specials. So first up, we have the Hoplite. We've kind of talked this one to death, but they are simple, 1 deployment point. They're a simple unit. There's going to be a lot of Hoplites out on the field. They get a range of 2 with 1 air range. They've only got 1 health, armor type 1, 1 movement, but they do have the special runner. Begin on a trench, they get that extra runner. So that's super nice. And they hit like a truck. They get 2 attacks, mainly focused on armor type 1 units, where they get 2 dice, but they do get a dice against every other type of unit. So they can definitely bring the heat, but they're not extremely overpowered. I like the look of these guys. I really like what they can do. And they're just cute, and they're definitely iconic. They're an absolute icon of this faction, which the main infantry that's going to be out on the field all the time should be and very iconic. Next up, we have Gorgon Artillery. I absolutely love these guys. I mean, what can I say? They are 3 deployment points. They only have a movement of 1. They're a little slow. They armor type 1, but they do have 2 health to help them get a little bit of survivability out there. But they do have a land range of 3. They get 2 attacks, and they have accurate, which means they ignore bolster defense. So these are the dudes you want clearing out not trenches, clearing out like bunkers and stuff. They get a good collection of dice against everything. It is important to note that they don't have a blast attack. So as an artillery, they are still pointing out at certain units and attacking them. But with range of 3, and they are going to be able to pinpoint that, they're going to be very good at taking out support and tank units and just being able to ignore bolster defense of units hiding in bunkers. Here we have the Argonauts, and they look amazing. Their art is so good, and these are like the snipers of the Nemoan. We see that they cost 2 deployment points to get out there. They're a little slow with a movement of 1, but they do have runner, so they're going to be on those trenches with the rest of the infantry. They are armor type 2, which is going to give them a little bit of resilience against some of the other units, but they're going to be susceptible to Blight Panzerfaust. They've only got 1 health, so you just got to hit them. They do have a land range of 3, which is huge, very good. And they also have the air range of 1. So they are going to be able to hit some of the airplanes. We see that they get 2 attacks, and they have accurate, so they ignore that bolster defense. But that's not going to be too useful because they only have 1 dice to begin with against armor type 1. So they're not going to be really about clearing out those bunkers. They're going to be more about clearing out the skies, where a lot of air units have bolster defense to show that they're very, like, you know, whimsical in the sky. So they're a little bit harder to hit. However, they are going to be very good at taking on armor type 2 and 3 units with those 2 dice rolls, and being able to go after, like, the Wolverine, who buffs bolster defense, but they're going to be able to ignore that, so they're going to be able to hit them still. This unit looks very good. I love the reference of Argonaut. Very good. Icarus Jump Infantry, also a hilarious little unit to have out in the battlefield. These guys are also worth 2 deployment points. They have 3 movement, which is going to be really good with that special, where we'll talk about a little bit later. They are armor type 1 and 1 health, so they are going to be very susceptible to a lot of small arms fire that both the Allied and Blight can bring to arms against them. They only have 1 range too, so they're going to be getting close. They also have 1 air range. That's kind of nice. But they're going to be moving quite quickly across the battlefield. Let's jump into their extras to see how their specials play with their stats. They have Leap, where when this unit moves, it may move through areas that contain enemy units and terrain, ignoring the rules of any terrain this unit moves through, except the area that it finishes its movement on. So basically, this gets to ignore any areas that it can move through that it doesn't land on. So this ignores rules about what they can or can't land on, like areas with enemies in them, areas with barbed wire, areas with, minefields or whatever. It's going to be able to move around, basically flying, and then land. So they're literally, they're Icarus Jump Infantry. They're jumping around the map. That's going to help them get real close or get into area where with enemies that they'll need to, like, attack. They also have Rapid Assault 1, which is a little bit of a shame, but it's nice. So they only have a range of 1. So Rapid Assault 1 allows them to get a little bit closer in order to use that range and attack. My thing is that Rapid Assault 1 does not allow them to make use of their leap ability and leap over something to Rapid Assault and attack. But that could be a balance issue. If these guys are able to Rapid Assault 2 and jump all over the place, that could be really powerful. So it might be seeing that they're powerful enough. They also have Bolster Defense, which is very cool. So when this unit's attacked, it reduces the number of dice rolled against them by 1 to a minimum of 1. They're armor type 1, and they're going to be susceptible to a lot of units in the Allied side, like Riflemen, on the Blight side, like the Schlitten. So reducing those 3 dice attacks to 1 by 1 could really help their survivability against those units that are going to just have a much easier time taking them to task. So they definitely have a kit that is made for their stats. My only thought is that Rapid Assault won't be as useful, but again, they're pretty powerful as is. That could just be the trade-off of needing that 1 to get close to the units that just moved up into attack range. For instance, a Rifleman only has a range of 2, so if they end their movement phase up near you so that they can attack next round, you can Rapid Assault 1 up and then attack them first. They get 2 attacks with 2 dice against armor type 1 and 2, where most of their danger is going to be. But they can also touch all units, which is going to be a theme for Nemoans, is that they can touch all units on the field. So that's going to be helpful. A lot of people's favorite unit, the Cerberus Striker. This cavalry unit has it all. It costs 3 deployment points to get out in the field. He's got 2 movement, but as we're going to see from the special, that's not going to hold him back. He's an armor type 2 with 2 health, so he's going to be a little bit more survivable against the certain factions. They have a range of 2 and an air range of 1, again, ensuring that they can touch everyone on the battlefield. They get 2 blast attacks. They are coming and they can touch everyone in an area. Those are going to be real powerful. They also get 3 dice against armor type 1. They are meant to clean out infantry. They get 2 dice against armor type 2, and they get 1 dice against everything else. Again, can touch every unit that's going to be deployed. These guys are amazing, but their flavor comes in with momentum. They get +2 movement if this unit moves in a straight line only. That means that you're going to be able to deploy these guys and zoom them right into the fight right from the get-go. You might not be able to hit anything that first round, but with a movement of 4, these guys are going to be able to get right up into no man's land and get right into the fight next round. It's going to be very good. They are very well designed, very good flavor. They are peak cavalry. This is very, very good. Love it all around. And next up, we have the Minotaur Mech. This guy was super cool. The community got to vote on what the Minotaur Mech's stats and final look would look like based on what stats and what it would hold. And we chose a close brawler tank. He is a tank unit with 1 plug slot. He is 4 deployment points and 1 rivet. He's got 2 movement, armor type 3 with 3 health, but he's a brawler. He will get up close and personal with those drills. He's got 1 land range, 0 air range, which is a rarity for Nemoans. But he has 2 attacks where he can touch any armor type on the field. His specials is where things are going to get really interesting. Minotaur Mech is immune to gas. He has Rapid Assault 2, so with his movement being 2, he can basically choose to do his movement before his attack with not a lot of negatives, but that's what he's about, is getting in there and hitting them. And he has Puncture. Puncture is such a flavorful special. When this unit attacks, it deals an additional point of damage if 1 or more of the dice rolls is 6 or more. I'm assuming 6+ with bonuses, appropriate bonuses that other things would give them. So flavorful. So big. This thing's covered in drills. It's going to get up there and do a lot of drill damage. And when it does, if it does hit with a 6, it basically crits and does 2 damage instead of 1. This is going to be great for attacking heavily armored units. Again, it can touch anything that's out in the field. So just getting enough dice out there. Now, these only get 1 dice each. But if you're rolling 2 and 2 with 2 attacks, that could be 4 damage on a very good day. And 4 damage against Sturmpanzer, an ostrich, a griffin's hammer, the double play, like that could be a big deal. This guy could be a great asset on the field. Just another solid flavor win for the Nemoans. I love it. We talked about this guy earlier, but for a burrower, he's a cavalry unit, which is kind of interesting. He costs 2 deployment points. He has 2 movement. He has armor type 2 with +1 health. I'm sorry. He has 1 health, but he is armor type 2. He does have a range of 2, which will make use of his piercing attack, which, again, he can touch almost everyone. Another rarity, he doesn't have an air range, but that's okay. His specials include Burrow, where when this unit moves, it may move through areas that contain enemy units. It may end its movement in areas containing only infantry units. Resolve a 1 dice attack against all units in that area. Units not destroyed by the attack are then moved to another area within 1 land by their player. This basically means that he can attack, and then basically what the flavor is he's burrowing through and then doing a little tank shock as he comes up. I mean, again, solid flavor hit. This is great. He also gets momentum 1. So if that movement of 2 is in a straight line, he gets just that 1 extra movement. But that moves him up to 3. That's so good. He'll be able to go under strategic objectives or bunkers or minefields or whatever and just go and then pop up and be able to hit whoever has been camping out behind there. So good, so flavorful. I really like this unit. I was really excited to finally get to see what they do on the battlefield. Here we have it coming up from below the earth. We have the Titan Mech, the tripod walker like War of the Worlds. He is a tank with only 1. He's a tank with 1 plug slot. I thought he had 2. He has 1 plug slot, 4 deployment points, and 3 rivets. He's a really, he's a really expensive boy. He only gets a movement of 1. We'll talk about that later. Armor type 3, because he's that tank, but he gets 5 health. He is a beefy boy. He gets a range of 3 with land and 1 air range. And again, touching everyone, he gets a piercing attack with 2 dice against everyone. Oh, with that land range of 3, he can tear through the battlefield. Looking at their specials, he's immune to gas, but a big thing is bumping that walking speed of 1 up to 3 by using momentum 2. Moving in a straight line, have them just charge ahead like a scuttling crab of death. So good. He also gets tank shock, so he can move into areas containing only infantry units and gets 1 dice roll. If he gets to move 3 in a straight line, he can literally plow through so many infantry, and then get to, that would be after his serious piercing attack against whoever else is on the field. This is a big boy who is going to do some serious damage if you can afford him. So, very good flavor. Here we see the Helios Air Mech with the wrong unit art. Again, if you have a feedback, put that on the feedback form. So there's different art for him, obviously, down the line. He's a tank with 1 plug slot. Looks like he might get 1 bounty, but that might be for the Phoenix down there that this one is using. He costs 3 deployment points and 2 rivets. He's got a movement of 2. Armor type 3 with 2 health. He's got a range of 2 with a 2 air range. These air mechs are not screwing around. They can hit planes for miles. Like, these guys are great. He gets 1 chain attack, which is very interesting to see a Nemoan get. And he's got 2 dice against everything except for armor type 4. What a solid air mech. For their specials, they got immune to gas. He gets a leap, so again, can jump over stuff. And he gets that bolster defense, which he buffs. As we saw from that one comic that there was. He can basically use the drill arm to help defend infantry units that are around from incoming attacks. So he is quite a good unit to have on the field. Buffing Bolster Defense 1 is quite powerful. And they are going to be the bane of air units, especially if you have the Helios Pilot plugged into the Helios Mech, which we'll go to next. The Helios Pilot is 1 deployment point and 1 rivet. He's a plug. He goes into the Helios Mech. Nice little dude. Well, you can go into any pluggable unit, and you might just want him to go into any pluggable unit because his specials are amazing. So he gets anti-air, which gives them +1 dice when they are attacking air units. So good and flavorful. But maybe he's not going to be in the air mech, so he gets +1 air range. This unit that it's attached to gains +1 air range. This allows it to... Oh, wait, no, it might not. Because the unit was 0. Anyways, if we take, for example, the Helios Air Mech, that gives it a 3 air range. That would be unheard of for all the other units that we've seen. So very powerful unit, very well. Very good to see how that's going to work. Because that's a pretty powerful ability that's going to allow you to control the airspace around you, or at least harass airplanes and make them need to target whatever plug that Helios Pilot is plugged into. Oh, another important thing to mention about the Helios Pilot is that he's not a hero. He is a generic person plug, not a hero. So you are able to redeploy them as needed when things are destroyed. Very cool. It's just something you never notice that we don't have until one comes along. That almost all the people are heroes, but the Helios pilots, there's plenty of them to go around. Now we're talking about the Phoenix Air Mech, the big old boy. This big guy has 2 plugs. He's a tank unit, and he can fly. He's quite big. He's got 4 deployment points and 1 rivet. He's got a movement of 2. He's armor type 3 with 4 health. And he has 2 land range but no air range. And he does a carpet bomb attack. So in that 2 range, he can just carpet bomb up and down. He's got enough dice to ensure that he can attack everyone. And things only get better when you look at his specials. Immunity to gas. He's got the leap, so he can jump over things that other people wouldn't normally want to touch. And they have can opener. The unit deals +1 damage when it hits a tank unit. This is anti-tank. So most tank units are going to be armor type 3 or 4. And he's got that carpet bomb. So I guess you can ensure you hit a tank in one of those. But even though you got that 1 dice, if you do hit, they'll be doing 2 damage instead of 1. So good and nice and flavorful. And with 2 plug units, you can definitely add some of the other plugs to add some oomph in there. Looking forward to seeing how this ends up playing out. Here we have the Nautilus Tank. This thing is crazy, but it needs to be, because it's the iconic, it's probably going to end up being the iconic unit of the Nemoan Faction. It's a giant drill ship, land submarine, absolutely close to my heart here at Landship Scorpios. This is a great, flavorful unit, so let's jump right in. He's a tank with 2 plug slots, so he's going to be able to absolutely wreck with the plugs that we got coming up. 6 deployment points and 3 rivets. This is the heavy metal unit of the Nemoans. Now it only gets a movement of 1. Put a pin on that if you haven't noticed. Armor type 4. This is a beefy boy. He's the heavy metal unit. Oh, and 6 health. It's not going to be easy taking down a drill ship like this. He only has a range of 1. Put a pin in that. And no air range. He gets 1 attack, which in a weirdness, but we're going to talk about why this is flavorful. He only gets 0 dice against 1 and 2, but does have 3 dice against 3 and 4. This tank destroys other tanks. With that land range of 1, it basically is ramming fellow tanks. We jump into the specials, immune to gas. We get it. Driller is where, oh no, let's skip that. Let's go momentum. So this unit gains +2 movement when it moves in a straight line. This is so good, so flavorful. So that brings its movement up to 3 if it's moving in a straight line. Very helpful. And then we have Driller. Driller is Juggernaut for the Nemoans, and it's so good. It gets Driller 3. So when this unit moves, it may move through areas containing enemy units. It may end its movement in squares containing only infantry, cavalry, and support units. Resolve a 3-dice attack against all units in that area. Units not destroyed by this attack are then moved into another area 1 land away from by their player. Basically, the flavor is that they get 3 movements, they dive underground, come out, burst in a square holding the small fries, where it basically gets to attack all these kind of units with 3 dice. Most of these units are going to be in this range. So that makes a lot of flavorful sense. When it comes out of the ground and it's looking around, if there's anything bigger, it basically needs to ram them, aka it's only 1 range away and it rams the bigger boys. Again with 3 dice attacks. Flavorful, and mechanically, this unit, the stats tell its story, and it's so well done. And it can basically get 3 dice rolls against everything on the field. I'd be very interested to know if at the stats we have currently, if there's any weird situation where it's going to be able to hit a cavalry, support, or infantry unit that is armor type 3 or 4, where it could potentially get 2 attacks against them. But in that rarity that something fits that niche, feel like that is also a big, powerful unit who should probably be targeted by the Nautilus Tank, regardless. So I'm very excited to see what this will end up looking like. I mean, what it's going to look like is it's going to be a big boss, and you don't even think about this. Also gets to get a like any game where the Nemoans can spawn this giant tank is gonna become all about the Nemoans. Like, this big tank is massive, can take a lot of hits. Very few units can touch armor type 4, so it's going to be have a lot of survivability. And then it gets to spawn the Nautiloid. So we're going to jump to the Nautiloid real quick first before talking about the Mega Plugs. This is that Mega Pluggable unit that we talked about before. The Nautiloid is basically the trailer. It costs nothing. It's got armor type 3, and it's got 4 health all on its own. It's considered a tank unit, and it has a Mega Plug slot. So remember those rules from earlier. Touching on its specials, it's immune to gas, so anything that goes in it will be immune to those gas clouds. It also has detach, so this unit can only be deployed in any area, I'm assuming, in no man's land or friendly territory adjacent to a friendly Nautilus tank. Only 1 Nautiloid can be deployed from each Nautilus tank. So this is extremely good. This basically means that you get to choose when to deploy this during the deployment phase for free because you paid the big bucks to get that Nautilus tank out on the field. You get that Nautilus tank up out in the field, it lasts a round, and then basically it will deploy the Nautiloid the next round, and you'll get that with a Mega Plug. So good. Forward base, so it allows plugs and Mega Plugs to be deploying this unit anywhere in the battlefield. And these are the Mega Plugs that we get to choose from. So we're going to start with the battery. The battery gets forward base. Basically, again, clarifying that you can spawn plugs in it. It is just a source for plugging 2 plugs into it. So it's a Mega Plug that has 2 plug slots. It costs nothing. It's got no special ranges all on its own, and no specials that give it any attacks. Besides, you just plug 2 plugs into it. That's going to be good when you look at what the Nemoan plugs look like and actually act like. And the factory, again, super flavorful. The factory basically becomes a spawn point for the Nemoans. The factory has mobile deployment, where once per game you can move a friendly deployment token to an area adjacent to this unit that isn't in enemy territory and doesn't contain any terrain or enemy units. So next to the Nautiloid Factory, you just pick up one of your deployment tokens and put it next to this. And now you're deploying there in no man's land, right next to this. You get to deploy that token. And mobile redeployment, you can move it around as needed if throughout the course of the game things get a little interesting and you want to deploy some units somewhere else. That is the action of the Nautiloid Factory. All these are actions, so it takes place of any attack that it would do, so it'd be during the combat phase. You can just move that around so that people can deploy in different spots. It'll only be one area to deploy in, so it's not too overpowered. You're not going to be able to like really rain down hell from that one area, but it is very interesting to see this in work. And then, of course, factory shut down. If you destroy the factory, the Nautiloid, then it will return the friendly deployment token back to where it needs to be. Nice and simple. And now we get on to the Nemoans hero units. We have Commander Athena, whose art is absolutely amazing. So well done. She is 3 deployment points and 2 rivets. She's an infantry hero. We have 2 attacks. Oh, I'm sorry. Movement 3. Armor type 1, but with 3 health. So that's kind of nice. 2 range and 2 air range. So they are going to be quite good against airplanes and things. Like very nice. They get 2 chain attacks. That's going to be very nice to have out there. And they get 2 dice against armor types 1 and 2, and 1 against the rest. So they can touch every unit in the game. Very nice. That's always nice to have a unit that can adapt. Their specials make sense. With the Icarus jump infantry, they can leap, so they can fly over units and land at their last point, jumping over everything else. They also buff fire at will, so unit gains +1 die to any attacks. So as long as they can attack a unit, again, that 0 doesn't buff or anything. If they can attack a unit, they'll get an extra die against that unit. And she buffs that, so that's very good. So for what this means with her rolls is that she's 3 dice, 2, and 2. Very powerful, very, very good, very flavorful. And of course, she's got that bolster defense. She's nimble. She can move around quite easily, flying around. So that's going to be tough to hit. The bounty is a little hard to see, but she does have a bounty attributed to her. Next, we go to Sergeant Cyrus, who I love the look of. Again, he kind of carries on that very typical Nemoan look, but that big ray gun looks so good. He's very simple. He's 3 deployment points and 1 rivet. He gets 1 movement, but as we can see over here, he does have runner. He's armor type 2, so he's a little bit more able to withstand some things, and he's got 2 health. He does have 3 range, so hopefully he won't be in range of too many people. That 3 range does have a piercing attack, and he can touch almost anything. He's going to be great at taking out armor type 3, which is a lot of tank stuff. He doesn't have an air range, but that's okay. Something tells me he'll be well protected with his buddies. Again, a simple unit, but still powerful, worthy of the hero stature. I really like the flavor. Oh, I really like the flavor of the Nemoans. And Professor Phogg, which of course, you know, the reference Phileas Phogg. What a great unit. Phogg is 3 deployment points with 1 rivet. He has 2 movement and 2 armor type with 3 health, which is going to be very helpful. He has 2 land range, but no air range. And he gets 1 attack, but he has that typical where he can attack anyone. Very good. He's got momentum, which gives him +2. So he does have 4 movement. Again, in a straight line, he can get right into the thick of things, which I'm not sure if that's something he would want to do, but I do like that as an option. His big thing is that he has deploy, and he deploys fixed drones. So he can deploy 1 fixed drone for free in this unit's area, and only 3 fixed drones can be out on the battlefield at once. So I'm super excited to move on to fixed drones. Fixed drones are a support unit that are spawned by Professor Phogg. They have a movement of 2. They're only armor type 1 and only have 1 health, so they're going to be picked off. But hopefully they won't be too close to the action, depending on the situation. The reason is because they have 2 specials that are quite powerful. They have Field Repair, which during the combat phase remove 1 damage from any cavalry, tank, or support unit within 1 range of the fixed drone. That's going to be a very nice thing to have on the field, especially with all the various big units the Nemoans can have up. They also have Tune-Up. During the deployment phase, units in this unit's area or in an adjacent area have plugs deployed on them as if they were in friendly territory. This is going to be so good to have out in no man's land, especially as you're getting all the various tanks and air mechs and things like that out and into combat. You just have a few fixed drones running around, being able to put plugs in things as soon as possible. Next up, we have Sergeant Ajax, a very, very beefy infantry hero. This guy is, of course, a reference to the Greek hero Ajax. He is 3 deployment points and 2 rivets. He only has a movement of 1, but he is armor type 3 with 3 health. He is a big, beefy dude walking onto the battlefield. He has 2 range and 1 air range, and he gets 1 blast attack, but he's hitting everything on the field. The 2 in the middle here, 2 and 3, 2 dice each. But he buffs high explosives, which will count for him. These are going to be big. High explosive. This unit gains +1 die when attacking armor type 3 and armor type 4. This means that he gets 3 dice against armor type 3 and 2 dice against armor type 4. So good. So he is definitely anti-armor, getting out there, but he's slow and he's got to get in 2 range of them. So I hope for the best. Getting some action cards that lets you spawn an infantry unit would be helpful. Although I think a lot of them are now reworded to be non-hero, so I don't think this would work as much. But you definitely want this guy to be close to the heroes that buff movement and get him up into the fight where he can attack those armored units and do so really well. Next, we have Dr. Odysseus, who is a infantry hero with all the doodads and stuff. Oh, he gives me such Mole from Atlantis vibes. I love it. He's this big, beefy guy with all these lights and sound equipment. It's all sound equipment. I'm aware of that. What looks like a gas mask is actually a radio receiver here. So he has 2 deployment points and 1 rivet. He only gets a movement of 1. He is an armor type 1, but he gets 2 health. Still, he's going to be a little squishy out there on the battlefield. But he does have a 3 range, but he doesn't have an air range at all. He gets accurate, so he ignores bolster defense. And his 1 attack can basically touch anything on the field. His big bonus is Sonic Pressure and Boom Box. Sonic Pressure is a special where after this unit moves, choose an area containing enemy units within 1 land range and move each unit in that area up to one area, I assume away. So basically, every time this guy moves up, if you want, if they're moving up at a group of units, I don't know, in a bunker or in a SO, in a strategic objective, you can then just choose that SO one area away and ask all those people to please move away and push them out, clearing out the strategic objectives for maybe your men who haven't finished their move or haven't moved up yet. So they would be allowed to move up the rest of the way. There's also Boombox, which instead of attacking, as an action, they can choose an area containing friendly units within one land range away, and they can move each unit in that area one area during the combat phase for this person's action. That's like almost like a forced rapid assault. Like, that's really cool. So it's going to be able to be used in a few different ways. So he's just moving other units around. A great example of a support unit who isn't support, but honestly, I'm happy with him being an infantry unit. I think it's going to be really good to get this guy into bunkers and hopefully have him charging at strategic objectives and keeping enemy units back away from those strategic objectives, while being able to inspire your own units to move forward as your action in combat. Next up, we have Captain Robur. I see the reference. Captain Robur was a steampunk hero. He was a Jules Verne character who was a master of the skies who claimed to be king of the world. So I kind of like that this Robur is, has this big flag that he can put wherever. It's a reference. Look it up. Captain Robur is an infantry hero. 3 deployment points, 1 rivet. He moves 1, but he buffs movement range 1 that we can see over here. So he technically moves 2. He has 1 armor type, but he's got 3 health. Hopefully that'll keep him alive long enough. He also has 2 land range and 1 air range, where he gets 1 attack, but he can hit everything. He's got dice against everything, so that's solid. His only other one is he's got War Bond, so he's the Uncle Rivet / Iron Chancellor of the Nemoans. It's when he's on a strategic objective at the start of the deployment phase, you get an extra deployment point to be spent. 1 extra deployment point is good enough for 1 infantry unit at least. Bonus is a bonus in getting them out there and rushing towards those objectives. So cool. Very solid. The best part about the other characters was that they had, I think it was Rally Point, where you could spend that extra deployment point on an infantry that spawned on them on the strategic objective. But Nemoans don't need any extra help. I think just getting an extra point to be used towards something, especially since they have a lot of guys that are worth 3 deployment points. I mean, you're going to be able to spend that in a lot of different ways. I'm really excited to see this guy out in the town. It's looking real good. He's definitely a good, well-designed unit. Now we get into some of the plugs. We have the Hydra Turret here. 2 deployment points. They've got a land range of 2 and 1 air range. They get 2 chain attacks, and they have 3 dice against armor type 1. So these things are going to be tearing up light aircraft as well as infantry units, but they can at least attack everything else. The Gorgon Turret with wrong unit art here is also worth 2 points. It has no air range, but it gets that range carried over here to a 3 land range. And it gets 2 attacks as well that are accurate. Again, going right past bolster defense. And it gets dice against everything as well, concentrating on armor type 1 and 2. And so basically moving that 3 from the other one, moving 1 over to the 2. So it is a different plug, serving a different purpose, but still a great plug. Then we have Captain Robur as a hero plug with 2 deployment points and 1 rivet, just buffing that extra movement. But as a plug, that could be huge against any number of units you put on the board, is buffing that base movement speed, especially since the amount of pluggable units that have momentum going crazy hard on the movement speed Nemoans. Commander Athena as a plug with 2 deployment points and 1 rivet, basically buffing fire at will, giving them +1 die. Any unit that they're plugged into, that's going to be a huge deal. But also, depending on what pluggable unit you put this in, they might still have room in their area for other units, so they still get to plug that fire at will. So good. I definitely think Commander Athena is going to look great inside of the Helios Air Mech. So that's going to be really powerful. And then we have Dr. Odysseus Hero Plug with 2 deployment points and 1. In a strange turn of events, a hero plug that I would say is almost better as a plug than a hero. Dr. Odysseus is a little squishy out there on his own. However, as a plug, there is no negative. He still gets his 2 bonuses with Sonic Pressure and Boombox. And he's going to look great plugged into a tank unit, being able to push units away from strategic objectives and bunkers, as well as being able to inspire a rapid assault to nearby area of units. He doesn't have his sonic attack, but I feel like he loses nothing being a hero plug. A+. I really do love it. Woo! And with that, we are done. I didn't expect that to be an all review of each and every single one of their cards and abilities. But with that, that is basically all that we have right now on the Nemoans. I feel like they are obviously powerful. Like, there's a lot of their 1-for-1s that are meant to be 1-for-1s with the allies in Blight that are just clearly superior. They are powerful. Some of their units are way more expensive, which I think is worth it with their cost, but they are definitely way more powerful. However, when you look at how many of each model you get and how many, like, how they actually are played out in the world, I think you're going to end up seeing that there's just fewer of them on the map at any one time. And I really think that they have their own weaknesses to exploit. I think they are going to be pretty vulnerable to things like the Allied 65 pounder and rocket cycles are going to be able to touch most of these units. I feel like the Blight Panzerfaust can make waste of a lot of these units. Like, they're going to be up against a lot of units that Allied and Blight can put out in greater numbers. Even though they can basically control the sky, a lot of the air units gain different abilities. Like, some of the bombers now have armor type 2. So that's a little bit of a buff. Their movement and their ranges have been a little bit more buffed. So there's a lot that they can do. So I feel like their air combat is skewed to the Nemoans, who aren't air units and aren't on like the grids in between the areas. But their air ranges are crazy. But I feel like there's a lot of things that the other things can touch. I feel like there's a lot of Nemoan units that don't have immunity to gas. So I feel like for Blight players being able to target that, and I feel like Allied players just have a lot of units with either good range or good movement, and a lot of rapid assault units that can just make use of getting closer and just bombarding their units. Like, I don't think the riflemen are going to be that good, but I feel like the mountaineers are going to be really good against the Nemoans. So I'm feeling very good on how their balance will work, even though we haven't really got to play a game with them yet. And I'm feeling very hopeful, very inspired, very excited for the Nemoans. I found some things during the course of making this video to do feedbacks on, even though I've already done run-throughs of feedbacks. So I just want to remind people that there's a feedback form. It is on the Update 36 page on Kickstarter. We have until November 11th to get those feedbacks in. So if you saw anything during our run-through, if you have any opinions or ideas, if you saw any typos, issues, I was able to make a few things, not just on unit art, but different, like I felt that some of the unit symbols might have been wrong, and some of inconsistencies with how they dealt with some things. Like, for instance, some units, when they don't cost rivets, don't have rivets at all, while others, when they don't cost rivets, have the rivet symbol with a 0. So just some questions about whether or not, that needed to be consistent, or if it looked sloppy, or if it was specific, because I don't care either way. I feel like either way would work fine. But it does seem to be a thing that they're trying to do, where if something has 0 of something, it doesn't even have that symbol on its card. So it's just stuff like that. We went through it pretty quickly. Hopefully this is a small video, and hopefully you guys liked this. Really liked digging into the Nemoans, and I'm really excited to see how this goes going forward. So thank you guys so much for watching. This has been wonderful, wonderful instance, wonderful go through. I'm really tired right now. I'm sorry if I'm a little out there. I'm really tired right now. But this has been exciting. I can't wait to get these videos done and up. And I'm really excited to see everything else. I think what we'll do next... Oh, no. Why don't I do this? If you have an opinion of what you want to cover next, put it down below. There's things like the Vanguard thing, which was in the core pledge. We can go through those units and those specials. We can go through actually the base units and stuff. There's also the Aerial Aces expansion that has its own rules. Like, there's all these different videos that I do plan on getting to. So if you have an idea for one, comment down below and let me know what you think about the Nemoans. They were a Kickstarter exclusive faction, which I feel is such a shame. I really wish that this was also done up for retail. Just let me know what you think down below, and I'm very excited to hear your thoughts. Without further ado, I will end this video. There are links to all the socials down below, like the Facebook and the Board Game Geek and etc. So go check that stuff out down below, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye!